Maybe it is his fan, but I don't quite see why that would interfere directly with the mic since he's using a headset. Anyways.
Yeah, I see on the input level something's being picked up. Well, anyways, I'm going to begin, and hopefully it doesn't end up driving you too nuts. So I've got the instance set up, running the latest tagged release chart, which went out yesterday. It was a security release to GitLab 11.1. So we can see that that's running here. I did have some difficulties setting it up yesterday, and at first it wasn't so much difficulties as just a lot of waiting. It actually took, when I installed it, one of the nodes in my cluster was having a really hard time downloading the Nginx ingress image. In fact, it took 30 minutes to download that image, and so that node, that was the first image that node was trying to download, so everything else queued up behind it. And as a result, after those 30 minutes, things started coming up, but it was waiting that 30 minutes, and most things then came up after that. But what hadn't run was our cert manager issuer and our creation of buckets in Minio. Those two jobs hadn't run, so I had to at that point redeploy one more time to get those two jobs to run. And then kind of the unfortunate thing I found is that after that redeployment and the issuer was up, cert manager didn't seem to pick up or notice that the issuer was now created. So I actually had to restart cert manager, restart the pod in order for it to pick it up and give us Let's Encrypt certificates. So that last point about having to manually go in and restart that service, I think, was particularly unexpected. That being said, we are on a much older version of Cert Manager at this point, so perhaps that's changed in the meantime with a newer release. So we'll have to look into that and investigate that. I've written my play-by-play as the minutes went by in the demo prep notes. Okay, so let's go ahead and upgrade to the latest version of master. So I'm just going to jump into the docs and grab the upgrade command that we need to use for that. And here's the command I used previously to install the chart. Uh-oh. Grab the same values. So I've already set up Mailgun for SMTP outgoing mail, and that was working in the previous setup, so we'll see. Oh, one of the other things I tested, we can test again, that Maren had asked us to test this time, was during project creation, the initializing README in the repo. So we'll be testing again after the upgrade. But just here on the 11.1 branch in the stable chart, I noticed that last time I tried it, it wasn't working for me. So if we go in, initialize, yeah. So on the 11.1 branch, at least in the chart, it's not working. So we'll try it again after we deploy master. So it was supposed to create a README. Here's our upgrade command. So I'm just waiting to see some of our heavier Rails pods come in as running. Oh, we got an error on migrations though. It's restarting. No such file to load lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm.
Okay, that's a surprise.
It's kind of surprising, being that sounds like something directly related to us, but I'm not actually aware of what that is.
But where did it come in from?
So it would have been during the, so after the migrations, but during the GitLab runner command in our script that attempts to disable the authorized keys in the admin settings.
There we are. So there's a line there that says Helm lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm get command, and that exploded. Yeah, you see it right when 3 from the top.
Yep, this one here.
Yeah, that mic problem, by the way, is the auto amplification from Pulp Audio.
Sorry, what's that?
Yeah, next, anybody else can agree, once the fan noise or whatever it is kicked up, when you tried to speak, it was suddenly very loud. Your system is trying to automatically raise the mic sensitivity because it's not hearing you talk. So we can tweak the setting later. That's just to be aware.
Oh, okay. I'm going to check on the other jobs. Unicorn's still pulling.
That's 6 minutes and counting to pull that image.
We also have Redis not updated yet. I wonder if it's the same thing. Oh, no, we have a failed mount.
I wonder if the previous one did not unmount.
Yeah, you're right. What sort of...
A rolling update may have bit us.
Yeah, that may not be appropriate for this. We so rarely change Redis. I wonder if it's just because we recently made a slight tweak in some of the settings that we're just catching this now, because I don't think we've run into this previously. The other one is MinIO. It's probably seeing the same problem, I imagine.
Well, looking at the charts in master, which is what you just tried to deploy, as far as I know, there is only one instance of the word rolling in the entire chart. And that is in Nginx. So I would point out for those that are watching this, we have never hit this issue before. Last week, this did not have the problem. The week before did not have this problem. The week before that did not have this problem. Although we did follow the exact identical process.
So Unicorn's getting the same error on start.
The same error from Rails.
Yeah, as the migrations container.
Okay, I think we have something new in the master trees for the nightly builds that has decided to bite us.
I agree. So we have two things that I think are hitting us at the moment. So we have this in the GitLab latest, so we'll have to investigate why master isn't working, and then we'll have to further investigate why basically our Redis and our MinIO pods can't come up. I can probably force them to come up here by killing the old one.
Yeah, manual delete of the original pod should do it. That should send Sigil to kill, I should say, over to it via first it'll attempt to int and then kill, and then it'll force it. So it should shut down properly. The last alteration that I am seeing to the affected library path, at least on the CE side, is from July 19th in regards to Prometheus alerts on custom metrics. I'm still looking into the EE side.
Yeah, so Psychic also, so all the Rails containers have the same failure.
So just for my knowledge here, are we always demoing against the latest master of CE and EE, or do we like gate the refresh or whatever content that you get from the latest master?
Right now, you install to the last released version and then upgrade to master.
Yeah, so the working version I had before we started this demo was the latest of 11.1, and then we upgraded to the latest master, but it's like a nightly image of
the nightly build. Yep. Okay, got it. Thanks.
I'll I'll actually attempt to roll back here in a second in order to bring up something for us to continue looking at stuff. But I'm waiting to see if we can actually get. It looks like our MinIO pods didn't shut down. Oh, the old revision started again.
This seems like it's an odd behavior where they started in somehow defaulting in rolling update patterns, because we don't actually have that defined anywhere.
Yeah, so that's a good point as well. So just for reference, my cluster this time is a 197. I think actually we have demoed on a 197 before. Our CI runs on a 1812 cluster. But usually we're doing development on the 197 for demos and our own clusters being spun up at the moment, or whatever the default that GKA is providing at the time. So we look at the replica. Oh, not for this one. The old replica. Yes, behavior we haven't actually seen before. So it might be some new default in Kubernetes that we haven't seen.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that rolling update set to 25%. A stateful service with a disk like that should not be in that state. You can't roll something that needs the same disk as the previous instance. In the past, rolling updates were not something that we defined, therefore it did not happen in the way that we're experiencing now. So if they're being auto-injected as a part of either a newer version of Kubernetes or just being on GKE, due to default configurations, then we're going to see this pretty much from here on out.
Now that I issued the scale manually, I think it's going to come up. If it hasn't backed off too many times already.
So I posted the link there. It may not be related to the recent failure, but the nightly's run for our GitLab QA builds failed since yesterday, and I think the step where it failed is integration Kubernetes EE. But the error is related to the fail to create project earlier. So I don't think it's related to this one, but it might be related to the first discussion we had on the call, where there's no README create the project.
Okay, so with the manual scaling, we got MinIO and Redis back up. Without Unicorn working, we can't go much
What
further.
about Gitly? Is it running?
Yep. Gitl is running. So the next thing we can do to try to get it running is switch to an image from the night before. So that could take some time to find. Because currently all of our review apps are also running builds in the same project. We have an issue to move the review apps to a separate one to make it easier to find. Oh, well, here was yesterday's. The CE actually failed. Oh, that's not going to be helpful then. To go to 2 days ago.
For anyone on the call that has another call to go to in a few minutes, it is 28 past the hour. We will continue to attempt to debug this situation for a little while longer if you choose to stay. Otherwise, we're unfortunately going to have to call this second half of the demo as failed. Partially out of our control due to something happening, a change in default behavior, and partially because of failure in the Rails code base.
I just want to say thanks for the summary, Jason. I think Tommy and I will have to jump off soon because we have a GCP migration catch up in a minute. But thank you for the updates.
Yep, not a problem. We will catch you guys later, and the recording will continue.
I just want to check on something real quick, see if setting if I'm going to have to set the init container specifically for dependencies. Nope. Oh,
Yeah, we have the where dependencies is still using Rails containers. It's locked to use the same image.
I might as well do it properly and set task runner as well.
I'm going to step away for just a minute. I will be right back. All right, I'm back.
Yeah, so this image doesn't have the Kubernetes Helm lib problem.
Right, and nothing changed in the image itself in terms of how we're defining it through Docker.
Yeah,
So
not
we
in
don't have
the
errors
last, like this
container.
image is just from 2 days ago, the one that's working now. So I don't think we've changed anything in our image in the last 2 days.
Right, so there's got to be something inside. Either we're missing a new dependency or something beyond that.
Yeah.
If you can fetch me the log of the actual error, I'll dig out what's actually going on. No such file to load. Lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm. There you go. You just need to make it to the Helm Git command. Thank you.
Save that. Well, actually, I can paste it in the doc. Be better.
Interesting. There is no. Oh wait, we're in. Yeah, GitLab. Okay, that's why.
Something else that's weird is that this revision 1 unicorn pod is still sticking around, even though it's like its replica set seems to be gone. Here's its replica set. Well, its replica set is even actually set to 0. So that actually is working correctly. Maybe it's just slow. Oh, here it goes. Okay, it was just slow. That's fine. So we should be up and running now. So there was no Redis or MinIO changes this time in this upgrade, so it didn't bother to attempt to roll updates to them. So I wonder if that's just been what, for the testing we've been doing on 1.9, if that's just always been the case, that we haven't been happening to test Redis or MinIO. I think recently we put in some like request changes for the limits, right?
Yeah, we changed the memory requests. We didn't set limits. But last week we did CPU, which didn't seem to make an effect. And this week we did memory.
Yeah, so I wonder if we just didn't run into it. Yeah, okay. We're on the new code. I'm just going to go ahead and test the initialize with README again.
Okay.
So it does seem fixed in master. So it looks like it's broken in 11.1, but fixed in master is what it appears to be to me.
The initialize with README. Okay. Okay, that's a weird error from Unicorn. So in EE, we call EE-lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm get commands RB, which then tries to include lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm .rb, which does exist, but then the dependency is saying that it can't load lib GitLab Kubernetes Helm.
Yeah, the .rb shouldn't matter though.
Right. What I'm saying is the directory exists and the module does exist at the path reference if going by relative path from the root.
Oh.
So I have to look exactly how required dependency behaves because I'm not entirely familiar with it. But the path it's attempting to use does exist, but the error that's being spit out is for the directory and not the RB file.
Hmm.
And that's the interesting part. What are we digging for?
Default theme.
Yes, we got to test that and watch it blow up in our face again.
Being that this changed this week, we can see if it actually worked.
And you use a numeric index. I'm going to guess the default is 0, so try setting it to 1.
Let's set it to 3 just to make sure.
I don't know how many there are, so we're going to find out. Let's hope there's 14.
I'm pretty sure it throws an error if. Well, it doesn't throw it. It won't throw it until later. Oh well, it doesn't matter. We could just make sure it errors and do 33 because I'm pretty sure there's not 33.
Yeah, I wouldn't push it anywhere over 3, to be honest. Try setting it to something that exists and see if it works before we go, hey, look, we told it to use theme 256. Okay, require dependency appears to handle some interesting bits of auto reload. And the current version we are building against is 270 for Helm. Or I should say triggering against.
Oh, default theme worked.
Woohoo!
So it only impacts new users after you set it, which is why I created a new user. There's more than 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different default themes. Or 10 different themes. But they're not necessarily displayed in order.
Exactly. Not an index, though, because light is the 10th one.
Yeah. And also, I think the default one, I don't even think is this indigo. I think it's... Oh, actually, I'm not even sure. No, it probably is the first one. It's like a really dark. Yeah, I guess it's that one. Okay, so changing the default theme works. And I think that's the only specific changes to this week that are part of the demo at the moment. Did we want to just, being that we're over time and we've already ran into many issues to look into, do you want to just stop the demo at this point? Not continue with the rest?
Considering the number of things that we've hit at this point, I don't think it makes any sense to continue. We're forcing ourselves to go back to a previous version of the Rails container, which technically puts us outside of normal behavior as it is.
Yeah, I actually at this point I expect the rest to behave the same as last week, but we've had to, yeah, exactly. We've had to hack it to get to this point at this point.
Right, and we know that import-export is not going to function correctly.
Yeah.
The export is working, the import is not. And that's a current state item working for 11.2.
Yeah, yeah, and we tested export on last week's demo as well.
Right, and we confirmed the state of that one, and we noted the open issue for import. So I don't think we really need to retest that this week. Default theme definitely worked. We did confirm, as requested, that initialize with README does actually work on master at this point. However, we found a new problem in master that we're definitely going to have to raise a bug for. We should check the nightly builds to see if they're actually experiencing the same problem in Omnibus.
Yeah, then the builds are a couple hours apart, like the Omnibus nightlies versus our CNG nightlies, which could impact whether the bug showed up or not. But it could be just that tonight's nightlies will end up breaking Omnibus. So
okay, let me check.
Which we should actually find out, because that'll break dev tomorrow.
Oh yes, it will. So
only if it's if it's in CE as well as EE, I guess.
yeah, all of this entire file that is causing the problem is from the 19th. So we should have seen this by now, or there's some sort of weird pathing problem. Or I should say, when this was merged, this is when it broke. Because changes were made on the 19th, but I can't tell you off the top of my head if this was a squash commit.
Well, it does look EE specific, though.
Adds back-end logic required to add Prometheus alerts to custom metrics, and it does some stuff to try and pull up the Helm information and do some checking on some config map. And then that's where this whole get command file comes from, that set of commit. And this file is EE specific.
Yeah, so dev won't break tomorrow with it.
I'm looking at, I will pull up the commit for you so you can figure out as well. I've dropped that on the chat. I'm going to throw it into the document. I just had trouble figuring out where I put the document. Here we are. Oh, that's interesting. It took my terminal colors and interpreted them. All right, so we'll research from this point forward. It is 57 after the hour. I think we should call at this point and then do raise issue and investigate.
Yep.
This will be a fun one.
I think I found the merge request, but I can't tell because it has 83 changes in it. It's not loading.
Oh wow, that's a big
Oh, there
one.
you go. Yeah, so it was just merged. Well, I'll post it in Slack. But it was just merged a day ago.
Well, that would explain why we now have hit nightly fail. All right. I will look into that one. Right. I'm going to look into the details of that one, and I will attempt to look into the update strategy one, but that one's going to be entertaining. Just looking into this error, which because it's bad, will probably consume what left time I have left for the day.
Okay, sounds good. That may or may not be the merge request. I'm just looking at it now. I thought it was, but now I don't see exactly that file in it.
Okay. Well, I will try and find the history of that commit directly and go from there.
Okay.
Can you raise an issue for these two things and tag me on the issue for this library problem?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump off. I need to make a few stops real quick before I move on to lunch.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.